What is going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Thrive Forever Fit Show. I'm your host, Jay Nixon, and today I've got an absolute treat for you. Today, my buddy Joe Sena, the founder and CEO of Spartan, the world's largest obstacle course race and endurance brand, is on the show, and it is an unbelievable interview. You guys are going to be so pumped up after you listen to this. You're not going to be able to stand yourself. You're going to want to go get a workout in. So make sure you're not listening to this right before bed, or you're not going to be able to sleep all night. Let me give you a little backstory on Joe. I'm going to read this so I don't screw it up. Joe is a New York Times bestselling author of Spartan Up and Spartan Fit, and he's recently released a new book called The Spartan Way. Make sure you get all three of those books. Joe is an absolute rock star of a dude. His vision is to get 100 million people healthy and off the couch. He wants to get obstacle course racing recognized as an Olympic sport, and he wants to guide his kids to be badass, productive, happy, healthy human beings. This dude is a killer, man. This interview is so amazing. Joe has been so gracious that for 1 week after this podcast airs, he is going to give free entry to anybody listening into a Spartan race or into the death race. I wouldn't do the death race, guys. Wait till you hear about this. It's going to blow your mind. But if you had never done a Spartan race and you want to, and you want free entry, you're going to send me an email. Send it to jay@nixonelite.com. His email is joe@spartan.com. We're going to get you free access to the race of your choice if you've never done a race before. Before we start, make sure you have joined Wellness Lab Launchpad on Facebook. It's my free Facebook group, Wellness Lab Launchpad. You're going to get a lot more of this. You're going to get a lot more of this energy, inspiration, motivation, a lot more me, a lot more guys like Joe into your life, which is going to make you happier, going to make you healthier. It's going to give you the tools and the resources you need. Guys, get yourself a cup of coffee, get yourself a pen, get yourself a piece of paper. Get comfy, because this interview is going to blow your mind. I cannot wait for you to hear this. All right. Have a beautiful day. Here we go. Joe, we are live, brother. Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. And thanks for bearing with my insanity with this rope.
You know what? I love insanity. All my clients, anybody who listens to me knows that I'm a little bit out there, so they're going to dig this. So for you guys that are just listening and not watching, Joe is actually doing Joe, what is this? You got some kind of rope you're pulling on. You're doing a...
Yeah, my buddy Eugene makes these continuous ropes for Spartan, and it just goes around this pulley basically. And when I'm doing phone calls, I just feel like I don't want to be sitting still. I want to be doing something. So
I love that.
I do this. I'll probably knock out 1,500 feet of climbing while I'm talking to you.
And why not? You know what? I do the same thing. If I'm going to be on a call and I know I don't need video for it, and I usually walk around. I can't stand to be sedentary while I'm doing anything. I want to be moving and doing stuff.
I agree.
So I dig it. So Joe, we met probably about a month ago at a conference, and this dude walked. You're sitting at the front of the room, and then beside you is like this archaic, ancient kettlebell, and then somebody's like, "You take this with you everywhere you go."
Yeah. Hang on, let me go get it. Hold on.
Yeah. Let's show the people. I think they'll get a kick out of this. So while Joe's going to get the kettlebell, guys, I mean, this is like you're going to see it. And for those of you guys listen, look at this thing.
Yeah.
So what is this?
From Sparta, Greece. So basically, it's a stone that came out of a historic site in Sparta. My buddy helped, get it all together here with the handle. And we got an ancient kettlebell there. The problem is, after you and I met, yeah, I had to go to Spain, Portugal, Germany, the UK, and then back to Boston. 5 countries, 5 days, and they lost it on me. The airline lost it. Between the UK and Madrid, it got lost. When I finally got it back in Boston, it's got a hairline crack in it. So it is now stationed in my office, and I got to go back to a traditional kettlebell.
Yeah, probably better to leave it be. That's funny. The airlines lost a kettlebell. It's probably the first kettlebell like that. They're probably, what the heck is this?
I know. That's the problem with me carrying the kettlebell. It always causes a commotion.
Now let's chat a little bit about that. Why do you do that? What's the purpose of the behind that?
Well, so 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I helped this guy lose a bunch of weight. I found out he had done our race. He weighed 696 pounds.
Wow.
We helped him get him down to 265. And one of the ways I motivated him was I said, look, as you lose weight, I'll carry weight. So I got up to about 100-pound sandbag, and that was kind of a nightmare.
Oh, yeah.
And we were moving, my family and I were moving to Asia, and I tried to get my sandbag through TSA, and they didn't let me because it was filled with BBs, because I had to make it 100 pounds, and to get 100 pounds, you need BBs, not sand.
Right.
And so when I landed in Asia, feeling naked without my 100-pound sandbag, I told my wife, you know what? I'm going to keep this thing going. Order me a 20-pound kettlebell.
Yeah.
That'll be easier, 20 pounds. I'll still carry around weight, but I'm not going to kill myself with 100 pounds. Anyway, 20 kgs showed up because we were in Asia. Didn't show up, 20 pounds didn't show up. So I'm looking at it for literally 10 seconds, and I thought, I got to return this. But then I said, I can't. The Spartan guy can't return kettlebell because it's 20 pounds too heavy. So that became my MO for the last 5 years. And then my friends dug up this ancient kettlebell, and that's how I got this thing.
I love it. That's so cool. Joe, everybody wants to know the answer to this question. When did you realize you were different, bro? And let's just be honest, I'm different too, so it's not a bad thing. I think being different is amazing. Like, I don't want to be like anybody else, but when did that switch flip and you're like, I'm really not like anybody else in the room?
You know what's strange, and I mean this when I say it, is I think I'm normal and everybody else is a problem. Like, you know what I mean?
I get it. I ask my wife all the time, I'm like, am I the crazy one or am I normal? And she's like, I can't answer that question.
I know. I think I'm normal. You're normal. And I don't know. I mean, life is so short. I just want to squeeze every ounce of juice out of it. I've always been, as soon as sunlight hits my face like a vampire, I sit up straight and I start moving.
Yeah.
There's no like laying around in bed or, and I literally go every day until I can't keep my eyes open anymore and then collapse.
Have you always been like that?
I've always been like that. And if I get on a plane, I collapse. And if I'm sitting, when I was going to college, I sat on a bench outside for a minute, take a look at notes, boom, fall asleep, because I just take every ounce out of life. And I always thought, you just assume everybody thinks the same. But I'm starting to learn after 50 years is actually the difference in my thinking with a lot of my colleagues is that I'm always anticipating. I'm thinking about tomorrow morning right now.
Right.
Tomorrow morning, I'm thinking about tomorrow night. I'm always like thinking 5 steps ahead. And not, some people respond and say, Joe, you got to stop and smell the roses. My response to that is, well, who the fuck is going to trim the roses and water the roses and fertilize the roses? Right. If everybody's smelling the roses, there's no roses to smell.
Yeah, without me, there's no roses.
There's no roses. So,
right. Yeah, so you guys are just wandering around looking for something to smell.
Yeah, exactly. So,
okay.
So that's I would say the difference. And I only learned that recently, that I just assumed everybody was 5 steps ahead, but most people are 5 steps behind.
Well, what you just said is so unique. Like, you're not interested in conserving energy. You're trying to maximize how much energy can you output. Most people, I think their mindset is like, how much energy can I save? And I don't even think they know what the hell they're saving it for. They just think I need to save this, and then they never even use it.
You know, my favorite discussion around that particular point is, what about recovery? And I think, like, what the fuck are you recovering from? You're recovering from being recovered. Like this is not the Lewis and Clark expedition where we've been out for 145 days and it's snowing and a wooden wheel is broken on our wagon and so-and-so just died. Like, then I could say, all right, we should take 24 hours and recover.
Yeah.
Right? Like, Shackleton was stuck in the ice for 2 friggin' years with his men. They were eating their dogs.
Right. You
should take a day off when you finally get home.
You deserve a recovery day.
You get 1 recovery day after 2 years in the ice. Yeah, same page.
I say the same thing. Everybody wants to know about recovery and this and that. I mean, I always tell people, like, you don't train hard enough. You don't work hard enough. Your life isn't structured where you need what are you recovering from? You just need to go harder. Yeah.
And so I think the problem most people have is that when you work as hard as I just described, where you squeeze every ounce out, you don't conserve energy, right? You anticipate, you work. There's no time to be depressed. There's like you're just like you just feel great. There's no like I'd be around depressed people, and I don't want to take anything away from there are folks that just have issues, right? You've got physical issues, biological issues, but like I bet most cases of depression are from not doing enough,
Right.
not from doing too much.
Right. It's self-induced. I think what you're describing, like that depression, that sadness, and the self-induced stuff it's because those people that's a reactionary behavior. When you're reactionary like that, you get depressed. You don't have time because you're proactively moving to the next step.
That's it. You got, if you're always moving. I used to think to myself when I was younger, I'm so busy. Like who would have time to be depressed? I don't have any time.
And I think that this is the question that most people are probably thinking is, okay, Jay and Joe, that's cool. But what about when I'm not motivated? So what do you do when you're not motivated to move, Joe?
So what I do, because I'm human, just like you're human, right?
Yeah.
And so I actually thought about it at 4 a.m. this morning when my alarm went off. I was tired. I'm tired every morning when that alarm goes off, right?
Yeah.
4 a.m. And I thought, fuck, what am I going to do? By the way, I've been having this conversation forever, right?
Yeah.
And I thought, well, let me just get moving a little bit. And I got moving a little bit. Let me just get the lights on. And I got the lights on. You know what I'll do? I'll just brush my teeth. I could always go back to bed. That's always an option. I'll just brush my teeth. And then before you know it, you're going.
Right.
And so when I don't have motivation, because I'm human just like anybody, I just start pulling on the rope. I just start doing burpees. Literally, it triggers for me something that says, okay, you're human. I get it. Start moving. Start doing something. And now a psychologist might say, if we had a psychologist on the phone here, might say, well, you're just running from stuff. And I'd say, no, I'm not running from anything. I'm just keeping busy, keeping active, keeping healthy. I don't want to sit around and dwell. There's always something to do. Absolutely. I could be cleaning up the house. I could be straightening up the shoes in the foyer. I could take the dog for a walk. I could clean the parrot's cage. There's always something to be doing.
Yeah, I would say to me, I think you're running towards something. You're running toward your success. Like, I don't believe that idea of you're running from something. I mean, I think a guy like you, like you're motivated, and let's talk about that. Let's talk about that motivation. Like, so the days you don't feel like it, you basically go anyway. You take that first step.
I never really thought about it, but it is exactly what I do subconsciously. And when I've interviewed a lot of Olympians who are required to put 5, 7, 10 hours a day of training in, what I've heard over and over is, I don't want to go do it from an Olympian. I do not feel like getting on my bike for 6 or 7 hours today, right? And so what they tell themselves, I've heard this a lot, is, you know what? I'm just going to do 30 minutes today. I'm going to ride 30 minutes away from the house. 30 minutes leads to an hour leads to 2 hours, leads to 3 hours. Before you know it, you got to get home. You got 6 hours in, you're done.
Right.
That's the way you do it.
Yeah. You just stack the momentum. And then by the time you're into it, and you don't want to quit.
And then the other great way, and that's if you're alone. If you're with somebody, this morning, it was about 5:45. I had to do some filming at 4 a.m. I had a whole bunch of shit to do. And it was about 5:45. I got to wake the kids up for their workout. And I needed some intensity. And the film guy was with me. The guy that was filming, Alberto, he's awesome. And I said, Alberto, you know what we're doing right now? We're going to run 1 minute on the treadmill. I didn't want to do this. Like if I got into my own mind at that moment in time, I don't want to do what I'm about to tell you we did. We're going to do 1 minute on the treadmill, 10 burpees, 10 pull-ups, and we're just going to rotate. So you're chasing me, I'm chasing you. So first guy breaks, we break the cycle. And so we ended up pushing ourselves 5 times faster and motivating ourselves 5 times more than I would have done alone.
Yeah.
He was exhausted. I was exhausted. Neither of us wanted to do it, and we got it done.
I love that. Let's talk about that thing. You just mentioned your kids. So you wake the kids up to get their workout in before the day gets kicked off.
Yeah, they got like, if you're a kid, let's go back in our minds. If you're listening or watching this and you're a kid, envision yourself as a kid and you're still groggy in your first class, that doesn't seem like you're getting your money's worth. Like you're there to learn, you're there to absorb information. And so we all know as adults, you're going to do better in the workplace. You're going to do better in school if you got a little bit of a sweat on first thing in the morning. So, there's listeners out there and people watching that are going to say, this guy is an idiot. His kids need to go to bed. My response is, yes, the kids should go to bed at 8 p.m. If they go to bed at 8 p.m., they get up at 5:45. The problem with those that don't like what I'm saying is you're letting your kids go to bed at 10, 11 o'clock at night.
Right.
That's the problem. It's not what time they get up. Let them get up early, and it's a fight. I got a battle to get them up. They get up, they go outside, they do a quick quarter mile to a half mile run, and they get in the gym. And then it's, burpees, animal movements, pull-ups, whatever. And I got to coerce them and motivate them, and it's a nightmare. But then breakfast is better. School is better.
Yeah.
Everything's better.
Yeah. You're giving them the habits and the rituals and the standards where for the rest of their life, they may give you a hard time now. I guarantee at some point in their life, they're going to be like, that crazy dude that used to wake me up every day was on to something.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. Because my mother was pushing a lot of this stuff on me, and I pushed back. I hated it. And, when I was 30 years old, I was like, oh my God, everything she said was right.
Now, what do you mean mom was pushing on you? Mom was a workhorse? Like she was a goer?
My mother found yoga and meditation in 1972. She became a vegan. She was pushing being a vegetarian, being a vegan. I didn't want any part of it. She had monks in the living room chanting, doing yoga, meditation. My mother fasted and meditated for 30 days straight. Okay, my grandfather had to come save her because she was withering away to nothing, and she was pushing all that hocus pocus crazy stuff because there were no yoga journals back then. There was no Whole Foods. Right. None of these conversations were happening. Right. Everybody's house was filled with TV dinners, ravioli, sausage and peppers. That was normal. My mother was not normal, and so I pushed back. She used to go running in the park. She'd run 10 miles. 10 miles was like, might as well have been across the country. Right?
So you've come by a little bit of this, honestly. I mean, you grew up watching it and it's ingrained in you.
And I didn't want any part of it. Nobody in the neighborhood wanted it. I was embarrassed that was my mom.
So when did that flip? When did you start to be like, that my mom's a badass? Like, when did you start thinking that?
When I was 30. It took me literally 30 years to figure it out because then I had made some money. I wasn't feeling healthy. And I started realizing, oh my God. Because when you're young, you're indestructible.
Right.
You could eat McDonald's hamburger. You're not feeling, you're not that in tune with your body. But I was 30, like I'm not feeling good. I'm a bit overweight. I got this business I'm running on Wall Street. I got to get back to I got to do some yoga. I got to go. And literally it was like, oh my God, I feel great. I could make money and feel great. Yeah. And that was it.
And is that when the dial started to move toward where we are today with Spartan and Death Race?
20 years ago. That was
20 years ago. So where were you? I mean, you may not even know exactly where you were. Where were you when you thought, you know what? I'm going to create the craziest ass obstacle course ever. And I'm going to get a bunch of psychos to come out here and see if they can do it. Like, how'd this all come about?
Yeah. So I started doing races 25 years ago. I started doing races. I was racing all over the world and I was feeling great. I was doing a ton of yoga. And a lot of people would not expect that. A lot of people would say, Joe's telling us to do yoga. Yes. You could do nothing else, do a ton of yoga because if you're mobile and you're flexible, you avoid injury. Injury is the only thing that stops you from getting to a finish line.
Right.
You might get there a little slower or whatever, but if you're not injured, you'll get to the finish line. Right. So I'm doing all these races and I'm naturally an entrepreneur. I've always been an entrepreneur. And around 2001, I said, you know what, we're gonna set up this thing called Peak. And I bought the URL peak.com. And we started putting on events under the moniker Peak. And first event was in the British Virgin Islands. And I had 25 teams of 4. I had 100 participants. And I lost $500,000 putting on that event. Worst storms the British Virgin Islands had seen in 10 years. Oh. I lost a guy. He drifted 150 miles. The Coast Guard had to save him. 9/11 happened right before the event. All the sponsors pulled out. It was an absolute disaster. I should not have continued putting on events. But because I'm a nutcase. I kept putting on events, kept losing money, kept putting on events, kept losing money. And then in 2010, against my better judgment, I decided to change the name to Spartan. I had a buddy from New Hampshire. Every day we used to train. We used to carry dumbbells up to the top of my mountain in the backyard of Vermont. And we'd be carrying these dumbbells, and he said, you know, all these stupid races you put on, nobody shows up, you're losing money. You need to do an obstacle race. And this went on for like 10 years. Okay, an obstacle race. I said, who would pay to go under bar? Like, I could not grasp. Like, it made sense to me to put on an ultra run. It made sense to me to put on a kayak race. Who's going to go under obstacles? That's stupid.
Right.
Anyway, in 2010, I bit my tongue, and we put on an obstacle race. And the first version of it is like light years from what it was. The first version of it, the first race, nobody knows this. I had a guy hiding in the woods. Okay. He had a big, for lack of a better word, like a jousting stick with padding on each side, like those gladiator sticks, right? And I said, you hide in the woods, and when runners come down this trail, surprise them and tackle them. And that was one of my obstacles. Just pummel people as they come down, like, because I was making this whole thing up.
You're just making it up.
Making it up, and anyway, I don't know. 700 people showed up for that first race. The entire festival area around noon emptied out. All the people were gone, and I thought, that's strange. It's not. I guess it's not fun to hang. This was new. This was the first race I had put on, an obstacle race, and it turned out that all the festival folks, all the spectators, and all the racers that had come in already wanted to go see the guy in the woods tackling everybody. So they had all moved into the woods. It was pretty funny.
He was now the show.
He was the show. So anyway, that was the beginning of where we are today. Today it's 45 countries, 275 events. I'm absolutely losing my mind, but we have an incredible team, and I'm not saying an incredible team that through they would make the post office proud. What's that saying? The post office says, no rain, no sleet, no hail, whatever. They're always showing up. Our team, take that times 10. Our team is indestructible. And so we're putting events on all over the world now. And the goal is to change 100 million lives, to basically sprinkle my mother's message, which I wasn't accepting, into 100 million lives. And sorry, I keep talking about it. I was listening to Admiral McCraven last night, and the way to do this is really to convince all the Spartan participants that each one of them has to change 10 lives. That's the deal. When you sign up, you take a pledge. You got to convince 10 people. Because if you convince 10 people, and we all do, we will change 800 million lives. We will get 800 million people off the couch.
Yeah.
I can't do it alone. I can't do postcards and digital advertising and all this to do it. I need the people to do the work.
Yeah, it's the only way it'll happen is if it transcends down through the individuals.
That's it.
100%. Before we move on from the races, so there's also a thing, is the death race still a thing, or is that not a thing anymore?
Yeah, that's a thing.
Okay, so walk me through that.
You want to invite a bunch of your listeners to death race?
Yeah, you said something funny. You said you were talking about this during your talk at the event, and you mentioned the first time you put it on, everybody quit, right? Like they didn't finish, or walk me through that.
Yeah, so people were quitting, and you don't make any money with a death race. And so here I was taking 3 days away from my family, spending, 30 grand to put this thing on, 40 grand. And it just pissed me off that everybody was quitting. Like, you signed up for the death race. You signed a death waiver and you're quitting? You trained for 6 months. So then I said, what we're going to do? We're going to make everybody get an article written in the newspaper. And they're going to have to commit publicly that they are going to do this thing. And they're going to be embarrassed in their local community if they fail and they quit. So all of a sudden, people started staying to the end.
That public declaration made it real.
And changed everything.
Now, give me a quick synopsis. What is the death race? What makes it different than a normal Spartan race?
So I'll describe, it was last year or the year before his death race. Last year's death race. Yeah, it was last year's. death race. I'll describe it for you. It was started in a church in the woods in Vermont at midnight. Chop a bunch of wood. Race really hasn't started yet. People are fumbling around, but they got to chop X amount of wood before it could start. And they carry, I believe, about half their body weight over the mountain to our farm, which, you know, maybe they put in 35, 40 miles, okay? Half their body weight.
Okay.
They get that over to the farm, getting warmed up. And we said, all right, we got a barbed wire course here. You're going to do a 26.2 mile barbed wire crawl.
What?
Giddy up, right? I got
26.2 mile barbed wire crawl.
Yeah, so I got Guinness Book there to set the Guinness Book record. They got the barbed wire crawl done, and and by the way, it changes every time. It's subject to change during the race. It's my rules. I do whatever I want. Me and my team. After you get the barbed wire crawl done, go to the top of the mountain. You're going to do 3,000 burpees. They do 3,000 burpees, getting warmed up, right? Come down and head over. I had 12 of these rope machines that I'm on right now. I had delivered, and we put it in the woods, this beautiful rack. And I said, you know what? Let's make them do a 26.2 mile rope climb. Wait until you see, I documented the whole thing. We filmed it. That's just 1 year. Every year is something different. We make it up as we go along. But wait until you see what the 12 remaining people on the rope looked like after 8 or 9 hours pulling this rope, after doing the 3,000 burpees and the barbed wire crawl and the hike over the mountain. It's amazing anybody's alive.
So 12 people, was that the finish? Was the rope the finish?
12 people stayed on the rope right to the end. Yeah.
How many people started?
Oh, don't hold me to it.
Well,
but,
ballpark.
175 or some, yeah.
So they're just falling like flies.
Oh, they got crushed. And some of the biggest talkers, they go right away.
Yeah.
Well, it's the quiet ones, the female teacher, the skinny CEO, like downhill skiers. Downhill skiers outperform everybody in that event.
Why do you think that is?
I think I couldn't figure it out for 10 years. I was scratching my head. My kids got into downhill skiing. If you're a downhill skier, there are days, first of all, you grew up putting on boots and all that gear and going out in the snow, right? So you're used to just dealing with being uncomfortable.
Right.
But then there are days, if you're like a racer, so I meant downhill ski racers, not just regular downhill skiers.
Right.
Downhill ski racer, you've stood on top of the mountain sometimes for 3 or 4 hours in a hailstorm, standing there waiting for your slot to go for like a 1.5 minute race, right?
Yeah.
You have built a layer of grit that most people don't have.
Yeah.
Most people can't stay in a cold shower for 30 seconds.
Most people can't stand in line at Starbucks for 30 seconds without raising hell.
So imagine standing on the side of a mountain in shitty weather,
right,
and just waiting for your slot to go, and you don't even make top 10. And then you got to go wax the skis, sharpen the skis, put everything, and do it all over again the next day.
Yeah, so they've almost built this tolerance to nonsense, and so they can just
deal with it.
Yeah, they can just handle it. Because most people probably break because of the mental, even
just
before.
Like, what am I doing out here? Joe's got us doing 3. This is ridiculous. This is stupid. And they talk themselves. I've watched thousands of people talk themselves logically out of the race, only to send me a letter 1 week, 2 weeks, 5 weeks later and say, I can't believe you got me.
Yep.
It was like, I had guys that are really, really tough guys, downhill skiers actually. One guy who saved a bunch of people in a burning helicopter. He got burned. I mean, really tough guys. And they were leading the death race one year, way ahead of everybody, crushing it. They were a team of 3. They stayed together, crushing everybody. And unbeknownst to them, the race was going to be over in 6 hours, right? They're already 60, 70 hours in. I knew it was going to be over in 6 hours. Nobody else knew. And I decided to say out loud, so everybody would hear on the radio, yeah, I think we're going to take this thing till Monday afternoon, make sure. And I kind of slipped it in to the conversation. Yeah. Well, they come up to the table where we got, bibs and everything. This is bullshit. We're leading the race and we can't take this to Monday. We're quitting. And they thought that because they were leading the race and they were so badass that by threatening to quit, I would change rule. I was like, quit. I don't give a fuck.
Go
Now
home.
number 4, you're in first,
Yeah.
right?
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Move out of the way. 1, 2, and 3, right?
Yeah.
Race was over 6 hours later. They were miserable.
I bet.
Miserable. They came to see me with their wives the next day. We deserve for a second. You don't deserve anything.
No.
You are the people. I just want to check. You are the people that stood in front of me at that table and said you quit. I can't even tell you how many thousand people I've seen do that.
Why do you think that is? I mean, because I see it all the time too. You see it in just normal everyday activity. People talk themselves out of success.
Businesses, relationships, jobs. Listen, we all have, there's a Brazilian saying, I don't know it, but it basically states there's 2 crickets. There's a ton of analogies like this, right? And one is constantly chirping to quit and stop, and the other one is like, keep going. And right, there's another one, there's a child story of the wolf or the whatever, and ask the dad, well, which one do you feed? I forget how it goes, but the point is, we've got good and evil in our head, things that are come bubbling up and telling us to quit, and things that are bubbling up and saying, come on, hang on. It's easier to quit. Bottom line is, it's easier to quit.
Oh, always. I think the humans always look for the path of least resistance.
And so,
but what's the differentiator though, Joe? Because for me, like quitting it almost comes to a point of like, you could die, like, or I may lose my leg. Like I have to weigh those 2 things out. Would I rather die?
I believe the differentiator is your frame of reference. So if you and I were going to do a 500-mile run through the tundra, and we had to get a 3rd teammate, and we plucked that 3rd teammate out of like northern Siberia, who had very little food growing up, you and I don't have a chance. Like that guy or that girl, like they're like, this is a vacation.
Right.
We're doing 500 miles. It's vacation.
Yeah.
So it really depends on your frame of reference, the set of glasses that you wear through life, your beliefs, your experiences, whatever. And so that's why I maintain that people have to practice adversity, right? You've got to do, like we are all learning helplessness in this new technologically advanced world where you could just order attack. Like we used to actually have to read maps.
Right.
We used to actually have to have a quarter in our pocket to put in a payphone and dial somebody and hopefully they answered to communicate. Life has gotten so easy that we're learning helplessness. And so the differentiator to your question is, look, there's a bunch of bows and arrows on this wall. I don't know if you could see them.
Yeah, I can see it.
Mongolian bows and arrows, right? Those folks don't have to practice adversity.
It's there every day.
It's there every day. And there's probably a large portion of the 7 billion people on Earth that don't have to practice adversity. But us cushy folks in the first world that have it way too easy, we got to do some hard shit every day, just so that we can build some calluses on the brain. Because otherwise, we shriek at the first sign of discomfort, and we quit.
So let's talk about that training adversity type of thing, because what do you see people when they do that? Like, is there a certain subset of people that like will go through that adversity and get stronger, and then the rest will just quit? Do you think there's a differentiator when it comes to that? Like even with the training of it? No,
we're all human, and humans have, we've been on the planet for 1 million+ years. So we all have the ability to tough it out. And so you just got to, I used to have my wife drop me off 40 miles from the house with no money. And I gotta get home. I gotta figure it out. Right? I gotta run home.
Yeah.
So if you put yourself in those situations where you have no choice, what ends up happening is you start to build this thing called future memory. You get to that finish line, you get home after 40 miles, and your brain releases a whole pharmacy of chemicals, and it creates dopamine pathways, and it's like, oh my God, this feels great, I crush it, right? But what it does is the next time you get on a starting line, the next time you go to do something hard, it gives you a taste of those same chemicals. So success breeds success. So look, maybe it doesn't have to be 40 miles, but maybe it's 1 mile outside in the cold. I saw a woman, there was a big snowstorm here in Boston the other day, and I saw a woman go outside and bundle up. Nobody was outside.
Right.
And I said, good for her, right? Like she So, and maybe that was a half a mile walk or 2 mile. I don't know what she did, but things like that build it. I used to go kayaking in the winter. I used to just do crazy stuff, carry sheets of plywood through the snow up to the top of the mountain, just so I could put myself in tough situations so that, you know, they used to say about the ancient Spartans, the other kings and queens in neighboring cities and so forth would say, those damn Spartans, they like going to war because it's easier than the training they put themselves through.
So I want to shift there because I'm thinking about like the workouts that I put my clients through at my studio. And I'm going to tell you about that in a second and get your perspective. What is a normal, because you kind of described a workout this morning when your camera guy got there, you're like, hey, minute on the treadmill, burpees, this. Is that an average days of workout, or do you just come up with crazy shit? Or do you like, I can't imagine you in a squat rack doing 3 sets of 10, you know, chalking up, you know, checking your phone, that type of shit. Like,
yeah, that's not my thing. So my thing is obviously burpees. Mm-hmm. I love burpees. I believe it's God's gift to us. And because of my mom and the mobility and flexibility focus, I've got, I think, 21 or 22 bodyweight movements that I do, I would say 99% of the time, every day. Takes me, if I'm flying, if you and I were competing with each other, I could probably get it done in 35 minutes. Otherwise, it takes me like 55 minutes to get them done. It's 50 reps of each if I'm not getting ready for a race. So that's like 1,100 repetitions of all kinds of movements that are building mobility, flexibility, strength, and some cardio. And then I make sure I get some other cardio in. So that could be a run, it could be whatever. And then wherever I can, I carry the kettlebell back and forth, so that adds a little bit there. In the office, I try to knock out this rope climber. Tonight when I go home, I'll try to get my last meal in by 5, and then I'll do something for 20 or 30 minutes, but not super intensity, but just something.
Yeah.
Because I like to finish off the day with something. I might wrestle my kids. I don't know.
Yeah, just something to get active.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a studio here in Palm Springs, California, and it's about 1,000 square feet. I've got 2 rowers. I've got an assault bike, some kettlebells. But people will walk into my studio and they'll be like, "Where's the machine?" And my statement is always, "I'm looking at it."
Yeah.
And they're like, "What do you mean?" So I'm a big body weight guy. So a lot of people are like, "Well, why don't we lift more weights? Why don't we do more of this and that?" And I'm like, if you can't move the thing you came in with, why in the hell would you want to pick something else up that you can't move?
Yeah, right.
You know, and so I think burpees are amazing. So almost every day in my studio, burpees are a component of the workout. And when I first started doing that, my clients were like, "What do you mean we're going to do 100 burpees?" So I put 100 burpees on the board. Right. Now they see 100 burpees on the board. They're like, "Thank God he's in a good mood."
Yeah.
And so some days literally we'll do 500, you know, in a 30 to 45 minute time span, my clients will knock out 500 burpees. And we're talking about attorneys, teachers, people that when they first came in could barely tie their own shoes, weighed 300 pounds. Now they're cranking out 100 burpees and being like, "Now what, Jay? What do we do now?" We pull sleds. I make them carry 50-pound balls around the building in the rain. Yeah. It's very unconventional, but my theory is this. Am I getting them fit 100%, but I'm getting them ready for life. So when life shows up with that big adversity, they're like, if I can recall all that crazy shit Jay makes me do, this isn't even that big of a deal.
I love what you just said. I was last year, like on the weekends, if I got to take my kids skiing or I got to bring them to a wrestling tournament or something, I incorporate my workout into my life. Because I'm never going to just sit around. Like right now I'm on the rope, right? And last year I was, when they would ski on the ski team, I would carry that kettlebell up the mountain. So the people on the chairlift are looking down and they're seeing this guy walk up, and I wear ski boots to make it harder on me, right? Because it's hard to walk with ski boots, and I got a kettlebell on my shoulder. What are you training for?
Life.
Like, that is my answer. Like, I don't need to be I'm training for life.
Yeah, I agree with that. You got me thinking, man, a dude like you, I have this theory about having like a circle of success. Like, you know, success breeds success. Like you said earlier, you know, we mimic success. Like, do you have like a core set of people around you that are like, you know, I won't use motivated and inspirational to you, but like that just make you want to be a little bit better?
Yeah, I got one of my best friends looks like Adonis. He just was born to lift cars. He's just looks like looks like the Rock, a smaller version of the Rock, right? So I've always got that aspiration. Just I'm never going to be that.
Right.
I got my other buddy who's managed $38 billion. So like he's doing crazy well, and so I'm never going to be that. His brother is like the smartest guy on the planet. Never going to beat that. So I got these 5 or 6 people that are just in their way so much better than me, but it's good.
That's beautiful.
It's good, right? It just keeps me striving.
Yeah, I think being the dumbest guy in the room, for lack of a better term, everybody's heard that story, it's a gift if you're in the right room.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, if you're in a room with a bunch of dummies, then it's not a great thing. But if you're in the room with those guys and you're like, hey, I'm not this, or this, but I'm damn sure better than I would be if I wasn't in this room.
That's right.
So yeah, I think that's important. You said a couple things at the conference that I've been using with my clients. So I want to thank you for that. I loved it when you told the story about the rowing team, about does it make the boat go faster?
Yeah.
So does this decision make the boat go faster? I found that to be a really cool story. And it's something I've thought about since the day you said it. And then you also said, somebody in the room asked you, they said, hey, Joe, what do you do on the days that you don't want to do it? You don't want to get up. You don't want to gather. And you said, I just think to myself, like, what would the average person do right now? And I just do the opposite.
Yeah. No, I agree with both those things. Matter of fact, that filming we were doing at 4 a.m. This morning, that I covered the will it make the boat go faster topic. And the idea simply is, if you and I were sitting in a rocket ship in the cockpit and there were 100 dials in front of us, and by accident, your elbow touched one of those dials and moved one of the dials just a millimeter to the left. It's no big deal. There's 100 dials. You only touched one millimeter to the left, except you and I end up on the wrong planet in that rocket ship, right? And so the point is, those seemingly insignificant decisions, day in, it's a birthday, what's the big deal? Have the ice cream, go to bed, like, oh, let them have fun, right? I can't tell you how many people I've spoken to that were on the cusp of greatness in their life, how they defined it, like getting into the Olympics, building a business, whatever it is. And then when you dig deeper, they made stupid, small decisions that seemed insignificant at the time, but didn't get them to where they were going. And so the story you brought up about the boat is an Olympic rowing team, an 8-man team. And the coach said, look, there's no way we're going to win the gold, but we got to try. And so what we're going to do is, I get chills every time I say this. What we're going to do is every time we make a decision, we're going to ask ourselves, will that decision, will the answer to that question make the boat go faster? And if the answer is no, we're not doing it. Guys, let's go get some ice cream. Will it make the boat go faster? No. All right, we're not getting ice cream. Guys, let's go hang out with the girls tonight. It was a great day rowing. Will it make the boat go faster? No, we're not doing it. And so if you treat life that way, again, there's going to be people listening and watching this podcast, and they're going to say, doesn't sound like you ever stop and smell the roses. Well, listen, if that rowing team stopped and smelled the roses, they wouldn't have got the gold medal that they got. So it depends what you want. If you want roses, then yeah. Go get roses.
Right. No, I agree. Right? And most people, I think a lot of people defer to what they really don't want because they're not willing to make that decision.
Nobody wants the amount. There's a great article. I think it might be Elon Musk's ex-wife wrote a great op-ed piece about what it takes, the sacrifice it takes for extreme success. Like, it's extreme sacrifice that I don't think people understand, especially in this world of like instant gratification and seeing everything on social media, and it's so easy, and like, oh my God, I mean, Spartan's a 20-year-old overnight success, right? You don't see the 20 years under the iceberg. You only see the tip, and it's like, oh, that guy, he got lucky. No, let me tell you, there was no luck ever.
Oh yeah, people go to one of your races, they see thousands and thousands of people. They're like, man, I should have done this.
Yeah.
I should have started one of these.
Easy, right? Yeah.
I mean, he just set up a bunch of obstacles, got a bunch of nutbags out here. They're going to run around. Like,
or a really fit sprinter on the track. And it's like, oh, well, they're gifted. Well, they worked 25 years to get there.
Yeah, they worked 25 years to be gifted.
Yeah. So.
And I think what you said too is hyper important. I think we need to success and failure. Everybody thinks that it's because of a big thing. And it's not. It's always those small, tiny little dials.
Tiny little things that just seem like no big deal. Every day, my wife and I battle in a good way about like, nope, kids got to do math and Mandarin. Math and Mandarin. And I sound like a broken record. Math and Mandarin. Did they do the math and Mandarin? Math and Mandarin. And it's like, listen, when it's time for them to go into college, if that's what they decide to do, this is going to give them an edge on that. Just a tiny edge. But those tiny edges add up to gold medal.
Yep. That brings me to the next question my wife wanted me to ask you. How does your wife handle your intensity? Because I can be a bit, sometimes she looks at me and she just does this. She just shakes her head like, you got to relax. You got to calm down a little bit.
It's funny. If my wife comes to a race, let's say, and some people come up and they're like, "Oh my God, Joe, how you doing?" And my wife will say, under her breath, like, "Oh, you're so cool. You're cool for about 4 days." And then you're a fucking nightmare to live with. So like there is a dark side to getting after life this way. It comes with a price, and that price is I'm just relentless. I just don't stop. My father, we didn't talk about it. My father was like, "Hey Dad, you told me to wax the car. I waxed the car," which is probably just a way to get me out of the house because we didn't have video games back then, right? Go wax it again. I don't like the way it was done. Right? You get it done again. Well, you know what? You missed 5. Like it just never stopped. Yeah. He just was like relentless. You could never sit still. There was we had a bunch of bricks in front of that, like a truckload of bricks in front of the house that had to get into the backyard. And so I really wanted to take Sunday off. I needed one recovery day. I wanted one day off. Like my father was just torturing me. And I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to surprise him. I'm going to stay up all night. Me and my cousin are going to move every one of the bricks, and then I'll sleep in Sunday because I got the job done. Yeah. I was so tired. We got the last brick in. It was probably 5 a.m. Went into the kitchen to get a glass of water, fell asleep in the kitchen in the chair because I was so exhausted. He comes down at like 5:30 a.m., kicks me and says, "Hey, I see you got the bricks done. Now we got a lot more time to get more done." Like it never ended.
You and I had a little bit of the same thing. So my dad got killed when I was 5, so I have very few memories of my pops. But I remember we lived out in the country. We had pigs and cows and a farm. And I remember at 5 years old, Saturday morning, sitting at the breakfast table, not getting ready to go dick around. My dad was like, I shovel pig shit. I'm 5 years old, Joe. He's like, here's a shovel. It's a little one so you can handle it. Like I've been working since I was born.
I love it.
I just don't know any other way. So when somebody tells me like, "Oh, my job's so hard," I'm like, "You mean the job with the air conditioning and the desk and the chairs and all the pins and
nothing drives me crazy in that
the break room, all that?"
They don't even know what a job is.
That place doesn't sound hard. I mean, there's people out there that would be like, "I'll go there every day."
That's that frame of reference though that we talked about earlier, right? That's that northern Siberian man or woman. They would come and say, they'd laugh at somebody's statement that, "Oh, my job's so hard."
And you said something too, like I remember I'm recalling some of your conversation you had that day you were there. Do you really disconnect the elevator in the office, or are you bullshit?
Yeah, no, we disconnect it. Hey, can't get up this elevator. So you find people, and sometimes I find people waiting for the elevator to work, and I flip out down there. I'm like, are you kidding me? You're really going to see if this elevator, like, get up the stairs, let's go.
Yeah. And then when people bring in like stuff, you'll throw like stuff in the trash, like cupcakes and shit like that.
I throw it out. I get in fights all the time with people. My CMO had a cookie. We're in a big meeting, like 20 people in the room. I took the cookie, she didn't notice because she was speaking, and I replaced it with an apple. And so like 2 minutes later, she goes to grab the cookie and was baffled.
See, you're like me. So we don't have a lot of crap around the house, but like around the holidays, like somebody will send my wife like a box of like cookies or chocolates or something. She'll eat a couple and then she'll go to work or she'll come back and I'll have thrown them away. And she'll be like, "Hey, she's like, you did you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I did. I can't help myself."
I got to connect you. You got to send me an email, and anybody listening could get my email. It's joe@spartan.com. I'm going to send you an email. There's a guy I just met who's the tennis coach in Palm Springs. I got to connect you with him.
Oh, cool. I love that. I love that.
He's a big deal. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I'd love to get connected with him. I got one more question for you, man. This comes from a buddy of mine, Kevin. So you've obviously seen a lot of people do your races. I mean, I've watched a lot of your videos. I mean, you got people out there with one leg, people missing both legs. Like, what's one of the biggest inspirational takeaways that you've seen, not necessarily from your aspect, but from watching another human do these things that you set up, these races?
There's a guy, Casey McAllister. First of all, two people you got to get on your podcast, Casey McAllister and my buddy, Zach Evanash. I'll connect you with both of them.
Please.
But Casey, my assistant who books all my stuff for me, she said, boy, this guy, Casey, such a nice guy. And she books literally thousands of things between podcast interviews, trips, this, that. So she talks to thousands of people, Spartans, non-Spartans, business people. But Casey really stood out in her mind. Anyway, he said, Casey, he doesn't have legs. He got run over by a truck when he was 8 years old. And his whole thing is he's happy to be alive because he should have been dead.
Yeah.
And she, her jaw dropped, my assistant's jaw. She's like, the guy's the nicest guy in the world. And I remember her saying that and then seeing him at Spartan races where he'll come across the finish line after 10 hours, 12 hours, just with his arms, right? He's got no legs. And he'll say to me at the finish line, and I'm standing at the finish line for an hour waiting for him cold. I'm cold, waiting for him. And he's out there, 12 hours, right?
You're having a rough day.
And he'll smile ear to ear, and I'll say, Joe, that's all you got? I thought you were gonna give me something tough, right? And I just thought to myself, we just all need to be more grateful for, because rather than him looking at it and saying, hey, I'm missing my legs, he's looking at it saying, I'm lucky I'm alive.
Yeah. That's so powerful. I'm a weird dude. So every morning, the first thing I do, my eyes open, I say, holy shit, I'm alive. And then I just go after it. Cause I don't know. It's probably from the things that have, the perspective I have.
Your dad died at a young age. So you get it.
Yeah. It's a gift, man. And I wake up every day and I'm like, I always think about it, do my gratitude and everything. And the first thing I say is I'm so thankful today for the opportunity to change somebody else's life.
That's right.
And so you're doing that on a daily basis. I mean, these races are obviously spectacular, but you know what you've done? You've given Casey an opportunity to feel that in a big ass way. You know what I mean? He's happy to be alive, but I bet when he crosses that finish line, I bet he didn't give a shit about no legs, whatever. He's just pumped.
He's amazing. He's amazing.
He's jacked about life. I'm excited about that, dude. That'll be awesome. Dude, you are a freaking, I could talk to you for days. You're a rock star. My clients have been just stoked about this. We had to reschedule, and today, my buddy Jared came in. He's like, "Hey, did I miss that fucking interview?" And I'm like, "Relax, relax." Like he was pissed.
Hey, I've done 1,500 feet, so that's good.
I knew you were gonna get it. Dude, what's one thing you would tell the people? And I know you get this stupid question all the time, but just to be a little bit better, what can somebody do today that's on the fence and on the cusp? They hear it from me all the time. I just want them to get a different perspective from a different voice. If they're on the fence about their own success, what's the one piece of advice you give them? We probably already given them a ton.
Well, I don't know if this is answering the question well or not, but I think if you want to be, it's going to sound selfish and silly, but just doing 30 burpees every morning and taking an ice cold shower will set your whole day up for success. You'll be nicer to people. You'll have a little kick in your step. Your body will function better. You'll probably eat healthier because you did that. So you can't take care of other people if you don't take care of yourself.
Yep. You can't pour from an empty cup.
Yeah.
Lastly, Joe, somebody wants to sign up for one of these badass races. Is it just Spartan.com?
Spartan.com, or we should do a challenge. First off, why don't you round up by next Friday? We'll give everybody a challenge. Whenever you publish this, give it 1 week from then.
Okay.
Whoever wants to do death race, they got to raise their hand. We'll have some kind of challenge.
Okay.
And then whoever wants to do a Spartan race, who's never done one before, I'll give you free entries.
You are.
But we're only going to do 1 week because they got to commit. I don't want people on the fence.
I agree. I'm a committal guy too. So 1 week after we publish that, anybody who's never done a Spartan race, Joe's going to give you guys free access to a race. We'll hook all that up, make it happen. Dude, that is rock star. That is awesome. And that is super generous of you. And it's a big deal. I appreciate that.
No problem.
And much thanks, dude, for coming on the show. I know everybody's going to love this. They're going to be pissed we didn't talk for another hour, but I want to respect your time, dude. So thank you for coming on the show, and we'll talk to you soon.
You're awesome. Thanks. And then shoot me an email. I'll connect you with a Palm Springs guy.
You got it, brother.
All right. Bye.
See you, man. Okay, guys, if you loved that episode, and I hope you did, it was one of my favorite episodes to date. I love talking to Joe. I probably could have done that for 2 hours. But I want you to do something for me if you loved it. If you loved it, I want you to share it with somebody else who might enjoy it as much as you did. Share it on your social media. Tell your friends, tell your family. Make sure you're subscribed to the podcast so you know every time I deliver a new episode. And then what I want you to do is I want you to go to Facebook and I want you to go to Wellness Lab Launchpad. It's a free group. You're going to get more content just like this. It's a place and a space where I provide you with free information, free inspiration, free motivation, free tips, free strategies, free tools that will help you get to the next level of life or wherever it is you want to go. It's 100% free, guys. I promise you it will be the best Facebook group you are a part of. I will bring you massive value. So thank you for sharing this episode. Thank you for listening to this episode. I'll see you in the Wellness Lab Launchpad. Have a beautiful rest of your day. All right. Bye, guys.